Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. We have a special webinar today to give you the inside scoop on IICRC standard subscription. If you have any questions during the webinar, please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. Without further ado, let's jump right in and welcome our hosts, Kim Stone and Stephanie Reynaud. Hello and welcome.
Thank you, Nicole. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, depending on where you are in the world. I've been here in sunny Las Vegas. It's noon, so good afternoon, and hope you got some luncheon. As Nicole said, my name is Kim Stone. I'm the Director of Operations at the IICRC, and on the call with me is Stephanie Reynaud, and she is our web store customer service and special projects coordinator. So before I begin, I just wanted to make a huge shout out to Millie Washington, our standards director, and her coordinator, Cheryl Smith. Without them on our, managing our standards development, we wouldn't be where we are. And also a massive shout out to our consensus body volunteers. Without them, we definitely wouldn't have any standards, and they add so much to the organization and the institute and the industry that is just unrepayable. The time and effort that they put into these standards is just amazing. And so thank you to all. If any of you are on this call, we are greatly forever appreciative of the time that you dedicate to the institute. So without further ado, what we were talking about today is the new standards web store and kind of how we've evolved over time with the standards web store and where we're at, where we're going, and what has changed and the cool new features that are being offered. And so we'll talk briefly on, why we moved from the old web store, the pros and cons. I would be, naive to say that there's not going to be cons when you move over to any new technology. So we'll discuss those, but then we'll also discuss the enhancements and the usability of the new system. An overview of the site and features, and then at the end we will answer some questions. Just note, if we don't get to your questions, whatever is typed in the chat feature, as Nicole alluded to, we can get a printout of that, and so we can reach out to you afterwards and make sure that those questions are being answered. So why the change? With the history and the evolution of our standards web store, obviously back in the day, it was just a printed book. And then as technology evolved and we moved into digital versions and the subscription, we kind of had to piecemeal, if you will, the systems together and not have a cohesive one-stop shop, if you will. And so it was a good, fix for a while, but we just have outgrown it, and technology has just advanced so much that we were really behind. There were some difficulties because there were so many vendors involved. It wasn't, we had a merchant account, and then we had a publication account, and then we had a digital account. And so it was just a mess, not only for staff, but for the consumer on the end. Some difficulties that we had with the digital standards. One, as staff, the provider was located in the UK, so having any customer service was always an issue with the time difference. But there was even times where we had people purchasing digital standards and it would be the wrong book. And, that's out of our control as far as staff here. But it is in our control to find a provider to make those things right. Visual issues, there was a lot of times where people would download a digital version and for whatever reason, it wasn't on our end, there would be faded pages and it just didn't look right. And then the worst headache of all, Stephanie knows more than anyone probably, is the Adobe Acrobat. software that was, we were kind of forced to use, and there was tons of issues with that. Whether it was downloading it to your computer or having it on one computer and not being able to transfer it to another, which I'll talk about later. So there was just a whole lot of issues revolving those particular products. And then with the subscription site, the site was outdated. We didn't have any control over the look and feel of it. If we had any ads or changes, we had to reach out to the provider and have them update it, which costs us even more money. So that was kind of a downside as well. And then, as some of you know, the shipping rates that were calculated in the old site were extremely high. There was instances where someone would be purchasing a box of physical copies of a standard, and the shipping would be more than the cost of the standard. So these are kind of things that, made us push to do some research and find a new vendor to help us kind of bring everything together. So there are cons with the new site. The discounts, because we are in a reseller model, which means we're using a provider that is managing, the publications, the digital, all those three things I mentioned. But they're also managing the customer service side. So they're the ones that are helping if there's an issue with a digital download, if there's a refund, if, any kind of issue with the order itself or the website, the look and feel, the design, updates and things like that are all through this reseller model. So we're not able to give such huge discounts like we used to, because we do have fees involved in this contract, where we have a cost of goods, but we also have a management fee. And so we still like to provide bulk discounts, but they're just not as great as they used to be, because we need to be able to cover our costs. Tax is a new thing. We never had to file or charge tax before. Some of you may be aware of a lawsuit a few years back with Wayfair, and it all started with the whole Amazon, these web stores that had, one location and wasn't charging tax. So with this reseller model, we're required to, by law, have them charge tax depending on where the purchaser is at and what state, country or whatnot. And so that's an additional thing that's new that we didn't have to do before, but now are required to. And then one other thing that is a big change, but I do have an alternative, and that I'll show later, is the administrator access to subscriptions. So in the past, we had the ability to have, say I'm an admin and I buy 5 subscriptions. I am able to manage who has those 5 subscriptions, and I can change and say, I had a staff that left and now I want to give them another subscription. So we do have similar ability. It's just not as simple as this old way. And so that is a con. But I think the benefits of the pros outweigh that con. So the pros, easy to navigate website. We made it really simple, similar to the old web store, very simple, straight to the point navigation, which we'll go over briefly. Customer service. So as I mentioned, customer service is available through our the management company via email and phone. We also have chat available on our website, where we can help anyone with any questions. The read online and offline ability, I will get more into this, but it is a great feature where you can download the app and read any of the standards that you have downloaded offline. So if you're somewhere that doesn't have internet, that's a great feature. And then offline, online, when you are connected to the internet, doesn't require software download. So we'll go a little bit more into that. Download up to 4 devices. This is a very cool feature, and I think it's appropriate to bring it up when, a lot of scenarios, some people are working from home in some cases in this world now. And so it's nice to be able to have, something on your computer at home and maybe on your work computer. So we'll go into that a little bit. Some other benefits. So spiral bound, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this very well, but we have started coming up with this spiral bound version of the standard. And this is really nice. It's a very sturdy, like almost waterproof cover. The best part about this version is you can just fold it, and as you're reading, the book just lays flat. So right now, this particular spiral bound is only offered in the S500, but we'll start offering these in other standards as well, especially when the fire standards come out. We'll offer that as an alternative if you like it. It's great if you're taking your standard with you. It's just the easeability of the book and not so stands up when you close the book. Again, international shipping is more accurate and reasonably priced. The company that we're using is a global company that ships all around the world, and they have resources all around the world. So they're able to kind of gauge, for instance, say if we had a ginormous shipment in Australia, they're able to utilize their resources of printing to say, hey, let's find one of our vendors in Australia to go ahead and print this large order so that the end user doesn't have to absorb those shipping costs and their real-time shipping rates as well. So that's a huge perk for our international that I know, suffered with the change to the web store previously. A benefit, again, the company we're using is Gilmore Global. They are a global publishing organization. Like I said, they're worldwide. They've been doing this for many, many years, in the education world. They provide not only publishing services, whether it be print or digital, but they also help with a lot of learning management systems and education across the globe. And we did a lot of research before we decided to go with Gilmore, and they seemed, well, I know they were the only one out of the multiple vendors that we were looking for that has those three components of what makes up our web store, and that's providing the single digital standard, the hardbound or physical books, and then also our subscription site. And so that was kind of one of the main reasons why we went with them, because they provided everything versus having it piecemeal like it was previously. I wanted to say something real quick on a quote that they have on their website. And this was another reason why I decided to go with them, because I've always, here at the Institute and just life in general and best practices with the Institute is, we really want to provide the best customer service to not only, our outgoing facing industry, but also internally with the staff here. We want to make their jobs easier. And so one of the reasons that really, struck me with Gilmore is they have a comment on their website, and I'm going to read it real quickly. Our global content solutions allow us to own this segment because we're large enough for effective global reach and nimble enough to quickly meet customer needs, be they for print and digital content, e-commerce, or any other distribution infrastructure, Gilmore Global. And it really struck me because, we, as IICRC, we are global, we have a reach in many different regions. So I like the fact that they understand the global market, but they're not so big that they're going to lose that customer service, or they're going to lose that IICRC is just a drop in the bucket for them. So I just thought that was a nice little tidbit to add in. So now we'll go into kind of an overview of the web store. There's two ways you can get to the standards web store. You can go to our normal IICRC.org and click on standards, and it will take you to the Buy Standards page, or you can use the direct link, the gilmoreglobal.com, IICRC.gilmoreglobal. So real quick, this is just the home page. We've kept it very simple. Here's a link to our supplies. So this is our internal supplies if you want patches, any kind of physical product, pins, patches. We have the certified firm decals, that stuff here. That will take you directly to our order form. But then everything else is pretty standard. You have your current standards, your digitals, your subscription, historical. And then this is a new section that we are going to try to keep updated as much as possible when it comes to what we're working on when it comes to standards. One key thing I'd like to mention here on this site, on this main homepage, is this quick links. This quick links is really great because it has a lot of information right at your fingertips. So our communications team has done a really good job of simplifying how the web store works, whether it's purchasing a physical or a digital or a subscription. They've made some really easy to follow videos to help you walk through that. So the standard subscription information here, that tells you what is included, kind of an overview of the subscription. Obviously, there's a link back to IICRC.org if you needed it. And then another video on digital downloads and how that works. It's definitely a lot easier process than it used to be. It was very confusing where you had to get an email, log back in, download the software, upload the link. It's just so much simpler from beginning to end in whatever process you're doing. And then a link here that will take you directly to your subscription or digital product from the store. So if you say, hey, I forgot the URL or whatnot, this will take you there. And then a link to our FAQs page, which is just standards information in general, not necessarily just for the web store. Some new features on the digital side of things. So my view here is as if I was a standard subscription holder. So you'll see that I have all of the standards. This is a cool feature that they've added where I'm logged into my, my standards or digital page, and you'll see that all my standards are here listed on the front page. And they have this nice little toggle feature where you can just toggle through all of the standards that you have in your account, click on it, and open the book right then and there. So it's very easy. You have your, like it used to be, you have your subcategories here that will take you directly to the book. Some other new features, these are pretty cool, the search feature. So from the home page, if I was to just go to log in, as you see all my standards, and I click the search button at the top, and I just say anything, this particular sample, I did sewage. It actually will search through every single one of the standards that you have downloaded, and it will pull the results for every single one of those books. So you'll see here, I know it's tiny, my next screen will be a little bit bigger. This one here, you'll see where I put sewage and it pulled the S500, S100, and it shows, where sewage is mentioned in every single one of these books. And if I was to click on it, I could go directly to that. Another search function is when you're actually in the book. So this is just a screenshot, but I have the S100 up. I typed in what I'm looking for. These are all of the search results, and I just click on it and it takes me directly to that page. So those are the two new search features that are really great, especially if you're looking for something specific. So you don't have to, cipher through all that information. Another few new features are the reader preferences. So depending on what device you're on, whether it's a mobile device or desktop, you have these reader preferences. So the display, you can zoom in if you need bigger text, larger text, if you want smaller text. You can do fit height or width. And then a new feature is the nighttime display, which is kind of just like on your phone, it will dim the brightness on it when it senses that you're in a dark room or at night. This is a wonderful new feature that I think is brilliant. It allows for multiple colors of highlighters, and I don't know about you, but I know when I'm trying to get the most out of something or the knowledge, I am a huge highlighter. This particular function is great because they have all of these colors that you can name yourself. And so say, for instance, you're preparing for, to take a course, to take the exam, and you need to know all of the definitions of the glossary. So you can click on the red and say, okay, everything highlighted in red is going to be a glossary item. Blue is going to be a Cat 3 category, and you can write Cat 3. So it's really nice. You can add, all the names up on any of these colors so that okay, well, if I have 5 different colors on this page of highlight, what those stand out to me. One of my favorite new features is the sharing feature. So these allow you to share highlights with coworkers, with students. Say you are an instructor and you provide your course at any given time. They're required to download the digital version of the standard from which you're teaching. And you can share your highlights and notes with individuals. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So in this particular one, under the sharing, whenever you are highlighting anything, it's very simple. You can say, okay, I want this to be a public highlight. So I can say green is my public highlight, yellow is my personal one. No one else can see that. And once you differentiate what those highlights do, you can share them with individuals. You'll see here I'm following Holly and Stephanie. These are just kind of samples that we played around with. But you can share your link with anyone and they can start following and seeing your highlights and your notes. This is just a little example I'm going to show here. This is as if I was coming into my standard and I wanted to go straight to my shared notes, which are highlights that Stephanie has shared with me. So going through, you click on your annotations. You'll see as I click on this purple, all of the notes, her initials show up, SR, so I know. So say, for instance, I had, 3 or 4 different people that I'm sharing notes with. They will all be different colors and they'll have their initials on it, so I know whose are whose. And so that function I just did here in this recording, I was able to export those notes and highlighted sections, and I can either print them or save them as a PDF. So this is a really, really cool feature. I'm going to play it one more time. I know it was really fast. Again, just going to the annotations, I'm clicking on, what notes I'm looking for. As soon as I click on it, it takes me directly to that page, directly to what was highlighted. And if there was any notes, you'll see at the bottom, there's a little comment section, and you'll see that on there as well. So this is a great function. Really great if you have, maybe a couple people going to take a course together. Or like I said, if you're in an instructor mentoring program, it would be great to share it with those individuals. So this is an exciting feature. I think that everyone will really enjoy. Again, some of the other new features, annotate, you can do your own internal note taking. And so it's very simple to just highlight what sections you're looking, oops, I went too fast. Highlight what sections you're interested in, and you can comment on there like, hey, remember this for so-and-so. This is also a great way. I know many people use snippets of the standard to include in their estimates. So Xactimate or whatever software you're using. This is a great way to say, okay, I'm cutting this much drywall, reference the standard, whatnot. You can highlight the area you're looking for and export it into, like I said, you can print it or export it into a PDF. So these are great. This is kind of a replacement of that snippet tool that was in the old previous subscription site. You can now do this for any standard in the subscription, and or if you have individual digital standards. So this is a great fun tool. And again, different color highlights. They can be private or shareable. This is just an example of what it looks like when you export. If I was to have, there's a note section here to, physically write notes, but this is a note that I had within the system itself. And so that would print on there as well. This is a great tool if, say, for instance, you had to reference a job that you were on, the Smith in Las Vegas or whatnot. You can write those notes there and then export them. Flashcards. This is a fun new feature for any students that are preparing to, attend a course, take the exam in any of the categories. This is a feature that's built in. You can create flashcards for really anything in here, and you can name them into different categories. This particular one you'll see a screenshot of. I named this category or this stack of flashcards as definitions. And so I just went through and, made a flashcard of each of these definitions within this standard. And this next slide, I'll show you how you can study with these flashcards. So I've put together, 10 or 15 flashcards, whatever, is particularly interesting or what the student finds difficult for them. I put these flashcards together and now I can study them. And so this is just a quick little video of how you can go through. That was the front, that's the back. You can go through it and say, okay. And then as you go through it, you can quiz yourself. And so you'll see those buttons at the bottom. I don't know, I know it. And as you go through it, towards the end here, you'll see you can repeat, shuffle, or reset. And so once you go through it again, you can say, okay, I want to focus on the ones that I was weak on. And so instead of going through all the cards again, you can just focus on the ones that you had a difficult time going through. So cool new feature. You can have endless amount of flashcards. There's no restriction on those. And then at the end, you can see that it gives you a breakdown of how you did. So another cool feature, great for students. And I think it's going to be a very well received new feature. So as I mentioned before, the on and offline viewing, again, you can have up to 4 devices, two online and 2 offline. And so the difference between the two is, think about on your mobile phone. So say you go to your Google App Store or your Apple App Store and you download the program. Super easy. It's just like any other app. You go down, you go to your store, download it, and there you have it. You've logged in. That's what's considered offline. So when you do that on, a tablet or your mobile device, excuse me, That's considered offline because you can access all of your standards without having internet. Online is the version that you get on your desktop. And again, that's 2 devices as well. So what I mentioned before is you could have, you could log in from your computer at work or your computer from home. Either way, you're online, so you can basically access it anywhere as long as you have internet. I mentioned before downloading software. That was always a headache in the past, especially for large companies who, have secure sites. You can't download software without IT coming in. And even then it was difficult to do. This is extremely easy. It's as simple as adding a new app to your mobile device, and the online desktop version, there's no software needed at all. You just go to the website, log in, there you have it. So this is the area I was talking about that kind of took over the administrative aspect of having a subscription. And so it's a little bit more difficult, but there are ways around it where, say that you do order, 5 subscriptions for staff and one happens to leave. You do have the ability to change the users and devices. And so it was very difficult in the past where, say I had the S500 downloaded on my laptop and my laptop broke. Well, now, I don't have access to that standard anymore. That's not the case with this new system. You can deactivate and activate as many, not as many, but as up to the 4 devices. So this particular picture, you'll see I have it on my Android and then I have my desktop version. Say that I got a tablet and I didn't want it on my phone anymore, I could deactivate my phone and then download it on my tablet. So this is a huge benefit, because before it was very limited when it came to digital downloads. And it was kind of like, once it was downloaded, that's it, you're stuck on that device, and that's not the case here. What also is kind of a substitute to that admin, as I was saying, is you can change the user information. So say, for instance, you did have an employee that left, you could get their login information and or request it from them. And then you can go on and change that person to, say, a replacement employee. Especially if, you just purchased this subscription and, you're only 2 months in and you have 10 months left on the renewal. This allows you to continue utilizing it for someone else. So that's kind of an overview of the new features. I know I probably talked a million miles a minute, but I wanted to kind of allude to some updates on what's going on with standards. Millie and the team are quite busy. We have tons of standards that are being worked on, and I kind of a forewarning. No, I know everyone's going to get excited. I'm going to go over these one by one and kind of give you public review dates. Just keep in mind, it could be a very long time after the public review for these to actually be published. So don't get too excited. We'll try to keep everyone informed as much as possible on release date. But becoming ANSI accredited is very, very time consuming. It's a rigorous process. So it takes time. And so, you'll see some dates here in the fall. That doesn't mean that these standards are going to be published in the fall. It could be 2023, early, mid, late, even 2024. So just a PSA on that. We have a call for members. So right now we have the S340 consensus body that is starting. There's a link to the application here. The S400, which is the standard for professional maintenance and cleaning of the built environment. They're about 90% complete on this. You'll see here the public review date is November 22nd. The S540, so most of you remember this being a brand new standard 4 years ago. Well, ANSI requires revisions every 4 years. So last year, if you remember, it was the S500 that was revised. So you'll see standards coming up in revision about every 4 to 5 years. That's just ANSI protocol, which is, best protocol in any kind of standard writing, just to make sure that we're staying up to date and current with what's going on in the industry. The S590, this is an exciting one. This is a new one for us. Standard for professional HVAC cleaning and decontamination in water damage environment. You'll see public review date is October of this year. S700, this is a exciting one as well. Standard for professional fire and smoke damage restoration. That's also up for public review in October of this year. And then the S760, which is the wildfire, November public review, end of fall. So it's going to be quite a busy time for the CVs and Cheryl and Millie the fall this year. And then the safety and health field guide. This is an exciting piece of work that their committee is working on. It's essentially taking all of the information for the industry and putting it in one field guide for cleaners. It's going to be it's not an ANSI approved standard, it's a field guide, but it's just a really good resource for our technicians out there. There is one thing I wanted to mention. This has kind of always been an issue in the past, if you will, just to be aware when either yourself is buying the digital subscription, be aware of what standards are actually published and out. All too often people get super excited and they see that the fire standard and they're like, oh, I'm going to get the subscription, and they don't realize that it's not even published yet. And so I just word of advice is always look on the subscription tab. There's a little information tab there that says what current standards are included. Obviously, all historical are always included in the subscriptions. But that just to avoiding any confusion, we'll always have a list of the current published standards. And so hopefully people don't buy them and say, oh, the standard I want isn't in here. Alrighty. One last thing before we go to questions. When we moved over the web store, we wanted to make sure that everyone that had a current subscription were brought over, and regardless of what their expiration date was like, as long as they had a current subscription, we gifted everyone a full year in the new subscription site. So with that being said, we know there are several hundred people that haven't accepted the email or the new version of it with the link. And so I believe tomorrow or Monday, we're going to be sending out another email reminder to those that haven't accepted the new subscription. So my suggestion to you is, if you are one of those people, if you'll just write a quick note in the Q&A so that we can extract this data after this webinar and make sure that you're on our list to get that email so that you can take advantage of all these new features. We're really excited about it. We've heard nothing but great things from new customers, old customers, and so we hope you all enjoy it. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to Stephanie if she wants to read out we have any questions?
We have one question right now. Is there a way to have search results limited to only the current standards?
You would have to go into the standard itself. So you can't exclude, so what I did in the beginning where I have all of the whole subscription with all the standards, historical and new, and I searched it, it's going to search everything in your library. But if you wanted to narrow down that search, you would actually have to go into the standard itself and do a search query there. There's no way to exclude historical when doing a global library search. And that's it. No more questions?
No other questions? Oh, where can I find the recorded meeting?
So I'm glad you mentioned that. I was going to say that at the end. So we will be posting this to our YouTube channel. And so you can access it at any time. You can share it with anyone. And yeah, so it'll be on our YouTube channel, or you can access it, our YouTube channel from IICRC.org. Again, if you have any questions and you don't want to ask them, you can always shoot us an email. We have the web store at iicrcnet.org. We have the chat function on our website. So yeah, we're here to help. We hope you enjoyed the session. I know I went over things quite quickly. But those videos that I had mentioned in there are extremely helpful. They walk you step by step through the process of purchasing and kind of an overview of the different subscriptions and digital whatnot. So without further ado, ladies, do you have anything else to add?
I have nothing else to add here, but I just want to say thank you so much for hosting. We really appreciate you guys hosting. If anyone has any questions that we did not get to, we do have the web store email up on the screen right now. So go ahead and email there. But we just want to say thank you again for joining us today, and everyone have a great rest of your day.
Appreciate it. Bye, guys.